Today, we're talking about something every homeowner needs to know: how to avoid negative sales when selling your property in Singapore. Let's go. I'll be breaking down this topic into 4 simple parts. What is a negative sales? How does negative sale happen? Why you should not use your CPF OA to pay for everything house related? And last but not least, 3 ways to avoid negative sales. Okay, so this is actually my WhatsApp and my Instagram. You can scan this QR code so that you can also get updates for the bounce out units, market opportunities, and good deals and whatnot. So what is a negative sales? So a negative sale happens when your selling price is not able to fully cover the outstanding loan amount and the total amount of CPF used with accrued interest. This means you don't get any cash from the sale, and you might even need to use your own money to top up the shortfall before completing the sale. So let's say, for example, you bought a property for $700,000 10 years ago. Today, it is worth 800k and you manage to sell it for 800k. Does that mean you make a profit of $100,000? If you were to sell at $800,000, your outstanding loan is 500k, and say example your CPF with accrued interest is 350k. If I take 800 minus 500 minus 350k, I actually made a loss of $50,000. That is what we call a negative sale. So how does negative sales happen? When you use your CPF to buy a home, whether it's for the down payment, monthly loan installment, or stamp duties, it's like you're borrowing from your future savings. So the CPF board, right, they actually treat the money like it was never taken out. So it actually still expects to earn an interest of about 2.5% per year, just like it would have if it stayed in your CPF account. Even if you fully paid off the house, the interest on that CPF used keeps compounding over time. So, when you need to sell your property, you'll need to pay back everything you used, including the interest. The CPF system is all about protecting your retirement savings, which is why the government wants to make sure you pay back what you took out plus the interest. So I actually met a couple that was trying to sell their house. This is a real life case study, by the way. I realized their outstanding loan was $250k and the total CPF used was actually around $300,000. So I asked them, why is the CPF amount used so high? And turns out they actually used every single cent of their CPF to pay for their monthly installment in full. They've been staying in the flat for about 9 to 10 years, and on top of that, they've also taken a grant of 50k from HDB, which is actually factored into the total CPF used. And yes, in case you didn't know, CPF accrued interest also applies to the grants you take from HDB. So after I calculated for them, in order for them to break even, they actually need to sell at above $500,000. However, the flat value as of that time was only 400k plus. The reason is because this is an older HDB flat and the remaining lease is about 50 plus years. So therefore, the resale value is not able to catch up as well. So this is a classic case of a depreciating asset combined with an over-leveraged CPF situation, which can result in a negative sales. So that's why this brings me to my next point as to why you should avoid paying every little cost that is house-related with your CPF. Now, although you can use your CPF to pay for your down payment, your monthly mortgage, your legal fees, your home protection scheme, which is HPS in short for HDB flats, stamp duties, and even the purchase price, right? Remember this: every single CPF dollar spent on the house is actually another dollar that has to be refunded with the accrued interest. So 3 ways to avoid negative sales. So firstly is that you have to consider using more cash. So with your CPF OA savings, it actually earns an interest rate of 2.5% per year as mentioned earlier. When you don't touch your CPF money, your OA balance continues to grow at a prevailing interest rate, and you avoid the need to refund accrued interest upon selling the property. So this means that when you sell in the future, if you minimize the use of your CPF OA, not only will you allow your CPF to continue to grow, but you will also have less CPF to pay back, resulting in more cash in hand for you. Secondly, to avoid negative sales is to reduce your mortgage rates by constantly monitoring SORA. So start off by choosing a bank loan with a lower interest rate and refinance when the rates drop. So many buyers, right, who actually use CPF to service their mortgage, they tend to forget to track the interest rates. So what do I mean by that? Many HDB owners, for example, they mistakenly think that HDB loan rates will always be lower than private bank rates, but that is not always true. If you are not keeping track of current interest rates and refinancing when the rates drop, you could end up with a higher mortgage than necessary, which will then increase the risk of negative sales later on. So last but not least is don't hold on the property for too long. If your intention is to sell the property eventually, plan how long you need to hold on to it, calculate your holding costs, and avoid holding on to the property for too long because obviously the accrued interest will keep accumulating every year, and by the time you sell your property, the CPF refunds amount will become very high, leading to a negative sale. This is why most HDB owners see their cash proceeds decrease gradually the longer they hold on to their HDB after their MOP. Because while the HDB flat may have appreciated in value, the increase in the flat's price often isn't enough to cover the accrued CPF interest. So when they sell the property, right, their cash proceeds are reduced because a large part of the sales actually goes back towards paying the CPF. As long as you understand this concept, you will know that the accrued interest will creep up onto the cash proceeds a lot faster than you think, especially if you have used a significant CPF sum to fund your purchase. Now to conclude, a negative sale scenario happens at the time of purchase, not at the time of sale. So before you commit to buying your first home or your next home, consider the finances carefully and don't make a move based purely on emotions. It's the initial decision to use certain financial resources that sets the stage for a negative sale, and it's not just the selling process. If you have any questions you'd like me to answer personally, you can connect with me by scanning the QR code over here, and also feel free to follow my Instagram and my YouTube channel as well. Till then, I'll see you in the next one.